Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Experience, live with Russ and Scott.
Welcome to The Experience, live with Russ and Scott.
Special thank you to our sponsors, the Gillette Home team of Keller Williams and Laura Gillette. For all your real estate needs, go to teamgillette.com. And H&R Block of Albany, Corvallis, Lebanon, and Kaiser. For more information on your tax preparation needs, call 541-928-6432. Good morning, everybody. Woohoo! May the 4th be with you. We are here live on The Experience, live with Russ and Scott. How's it going, Scott?
Obi-Wan has taught you well.
Yes.
It is a good day.
It is. It is a good day. It's always a good day with you, Scott. I mean, come on. I mean,
we have already had fun. Russ, I was already able to hang out with you and Cherie on our backstage, the Experience backstage on Instagram, which was a ton of fun again this morning.
We're having so much fun on that because, I want to tell everybody it is, it's fun when you expand your audience in your community. We've dove into an area where, some of the people we know come in, but there's a lot of people on Instagram that we don't know that are getting a little bit of the experience. We have a ton of fun. It's kind of a pre-show just leading up to this. And if you haven't seen it, you need to join us on the Experience backstage. It's fun. It's fun.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Well, listen, I want to remind everybody, we're here every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. That's Wednesdays, 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, live with Russ and Scott. And we talk about the experience of life. And if you haven't seen us in the past, you can go to experience.live and you can actually see all our past episodes and get notifications.
The experience video.
That's what I meant. The experience.video. Thank you very much. See, that's why you're here, Scott. You're here to correct me. The experience.video. That's what I meant. And so that's right. The other ones I have are .live. Anyway, the experience.video. And it goes straight to our YouTube page. You can get all the great content and be notified about upcoming content. Yeah, we just love this because, life is such a wonderful, amazing thing. And we get to experience with being friends, Scott and I, but also with these amazing guests who become our new friends.
Yeah, we're going to have just a fabulous time. We've got a storyteller. We've got Colleen Stewart who's going to join us. And we have got Craig Miller, who was a publicist for the original Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back. We have got the real deal. Russ, would you be able to share that screen for just a moment here? There we go. This is a part of his book, Star Wars Memories. This you're looking at is one of the pre-release posters. And you can see it looks similar, but a little bit different. And so his book has got just a ton of pictures in here as they were originally starting the promotion of this book. So anyway, it is definitely worth checking out. If you're a fan like me that was there, we were talking about this before. When I first went, it was a Tuesday afternoon, 1:00 matinee, and there were only 6 people in the theater because, hey, I was in high school. We wanted to go see, this science fiction movie. We got out and we're like, this is a fabulous movie. Too bad more people aren't watching it because there's only 6 of us in the theater. Well, we didn't watch the news. We didn't see that there were lines around the block and that it had been publicized well by our friend and guest today, Craig Miller.
Wow. Yeah, it's I have amazing memories from that too, but without any further ado, I think we should bring in our first guest.
Yeah, let's
Colleen
talk about
Stewart
stories.
she is doing some amazing things, and we just want to bring her in and start chatting and hear more about what she's up to. There she is. Hello, Colleen.
Hi, Russ. Hi, Scott. How are you both?
We are fabulous. Good morning.
Awesome.
May the 4th be with you
today. Yeah, you as well.
Yeah, well, we are so excited to have you on. You and I had a wonderful chat last week, and you're amazing. I want you to tell everybody about the things that you're doing right now, and how you got to where you are right now.
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks, Russ, for saying I'm doing amazing things. I try. How did I get here? Well, I went to journalism school because I wanted to tell stories. I always imagined that I would be a foreign correspondent in, overseas locations in war-torn countries and get, boots on the ground telling the stories. And then I graduated from journalism school and I decided to go overseas, but not working. I actually wanted to escape for a little bit, traveled around the world for a few years. When I finally got a job, came home and had to work, I ended up working for a publishing company as a sales rep. And during one of my very first business presentations to a group of customers, it was a pretty high stakes presentation. My manager had flown in to help me out. I ended up putting someone to sleep. About 15 minutes in, I could hear him snoring at the back of the room. And it's a funny story to tell now, but in the moment, it was actually quite mortifying, especially with my manager standing there evaluating, this new person he's hired. So I decided, okay, that's never going to happen again. And I started to figure out what makes for a great presentation. And what I realized was what I had learned in journalism school had more to do with it than what I was seeing modeled in the business world. So a perfect pitch today really brings some journalism prowess to your business information. So we just want companies to be great through great storytelling. And we can do that in a number of ways, but I really enjoy the work I do now and I'm quite passionate about it. So that's what we're doing.
Well, you could tell that you're passionate, and I think that that's why you've been successful. Obviously, life is a story, and people love stories. They do. They just love it. And so I think by you helping them with that, getting their story out, that really makes such a difference. So when you're working with people, what is the number one challenge you find that they have in really getting that? Like we're talking, may the 4th be with you today, and storytelling and all this stuff, right? Because movies are great stories. How do you, and people are into that, right? They get excited. So with your business, how do you relate that to help them get people excited about their business?
And the movies are only good if they're a good story.
Oh,
if they're a bad story, it's not great.
Yeah, I think it's at least 10 years ago now that one of Canada's national newspapers, the Globe and Mail, published an article. It was actually based on a study done by Microsoft, but the headline was Canadian attention spans are shorter than a goldfish's. And so, it was kind of a maybe just too cursory a summary of what Microsoft had actually uncovered about attention span. So there's this notion that our attention spans are shrinking. And actually, maybe that's true, but I think they're becoming more selective because we all know we can turn on Netflix like Ozark is on right now. And I'll tell you, it takes every ounce of willpower for me not to keep clicking next episode, next episode, next episode.
Oh, my son was telling me last night, the
Yeah.
new episodes are out.
New episodes. It's so awesome. And and this is what, like, Netflix drops the whole season, right? They don't, do what we were used to as kids, one episode a week.
You had
They
to
drop
wait.
the whole season, and we watch the whole season in 3 days. So we don't have shrinking attention spans. We have selective attention spans, and we love a good story. So what makes a story? Because companies like to talk about how they want to tell their story. But what the biggest challenge is to get them to talk about the challenge. If a corporation's story could be likened to the original Star Wars, it would go something like this. We meet this young, brash, arrogant, almost unlikable kid named Luke Skywalker, who just wants to get the heck off this planet and be a Jedi Knight like his dad. And he meets Obi-Wan, and they go in the desert, and he practices his lightsaber skills and never makes a mistake. And 10 minutes later, Obi-Wan says, "Congratulations, Luke. You are a Jedi Knight. Now you can go and save the world." And off he goes and saves the world. None of us want to sit in that movie. None of us want to sit in that movie. We're not even finished our popcorn, because what we're missing is all of the challenge and the difficulties and the times when Luke's own internal, personality and struggles get in the way of his achieving his goal, or even the realization that his goal is bigger than just him wanting to be a Jedi Knight. It's bigger than that. It's about, saving the universe from the Federation. So if we can, move that metaphor over into corporate storytelling, corporations love to tell about how great they are, about how they just kind of, opened, hung their sign, everything went great. And now these are all the terrific things that they do for the people in their world. But we don't necessarily trust that. We don't find it interesting. We need to hear about the struggle and the challenge and how they overcame those challenges. So that for me is the biggest challenge.
Well, that is so true. And, it is a talent, storytelling, and it's always great to know a lot of people that are great at this, like our next guest, Mr. Craig Miller, who's in the house. He's ready to roll. Hey, Craig.
Hi.
May the 4th be with you, Craig.
And with you.
And Craig, we have had a great conversation, and you were there at the beginning and before May the 4th was anything. Mm-hmm. And you had a producer, story, actors. Nobody knew anybody except Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness and Peter Cushing, but that's absolutely true. It was all new actors, or relatively new to the public. They'd all had careers, but they weren't well known.
And you had to tell the story before the story was the story.
Right, exactly. And I was listening to Colleen, and I want to reinforce what she said. These days I write children's television, and one of the important things is that stories aren't about things. Stories aren't this happened and then this happened and this happened. Stories, whether it's Star Wars or the story of a business, is about character. It's about people. There's this guy or there's this woman, and this thing happened to them, and this is how they reacted, and this is how other people around them reacted to that, and that's how the story keeps going. It's always about character. It's about people. It's not about things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Well, Colleen, take that again a step further, because that is so true. And a lot of people don't realize really a lot they're doing, not just in their business, but is their life as a story, right?
Yeah.
And you connect with people and you build community by sharing stories too, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the biggest thing is trust. So what I try, what I always tell my clients is, there are a lot of ways that we build credibility and trust. And one of the key ways is longevity, like just and a reputation and history of, doing the things that you say you do and being that steady, reliable person. But, for a lot of my folks, they're delivering a presentation to people they've never met before. So, there's no history with them necessarily. Maybe they're an unknown business, a brand new startup. There's no reputation there. And yet 40%, I think it was Ernst & Young who did this study, when investors are trying to figure out where they're going to put their money, 40% of that decision-making is based on non-financial information. And the bulk of that is confidence and trust in the management team. So how do you do it? Well, you can do it through a really well-told story. In 90 seconds, we can share stories around a dinner table, and I'm going to feel like I kind of, I know Craig because I know what he values. I know what he believes. I know what gets him excited. Exactly what you were saying, Craig. I know how he's reacting to adversity or challenge or just those awkward moments. And you can very quickly feel like you know somebody better and have some trust in them. So This is what I try to teach my clients all the time. Life is a story. And if you're not sharing it openly and candidly, and in a way where other people can, get your values from you and learn something, then I think you're missing an opportunity to really connect and build trust.
Yeah, I agree. And I was going to say, Craig, speaking of story, we have the experience backstage before this, kind of what's happening. Let's peel back the curtain. Everybody wants to know the story of before Star Wars was out. So give us a little backstory.
Okay. I'm not quite sure what you're asking, actually.
Just go with it. When you first got on set and you were first seeing the cast and you were first involved with that, tell us some of the things we wouldn't know just from watching the movie, some fun things.
Well, any movie, whether it's set, in your hometown or it's set on another planet, it's being on a studio stage is a combination of fascinating, engrossing, and utter boredom. The boredom comes because there's a lot of, let's move this rock. We've got to change the way the light is pointed. And you've got, 100 or 200 people standing around while one guy moves a light. So there's no matter how amazing it is. And when I started on Star Wars, I had just graduated from college. It was my first job. So it was, just a whole nother world for me as a kid. I was in my early 20s and suddenly I'm on a movie set.
That is amazing in itself. I was telling everybody before you came on that I just recently met somebody through a connection that introduced me to a connection to another connection. He's a super young guy, videographer, that actually just did one of the Super Bowl commercials.
Yeah,
that's pretty big time for somebody that's like around 22. Just amazing. So when you get those opportunities, that is amazing. Like Scott, he started when he was like 14, and all that he's doing now is spreading wisdom to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, I think, the world revolves around meeting people and getting to know people and finding opportunities. But however, whether it's you take a test or someone, and I don't mean it's your uncle, it's like you just meet someone. That's how I ended up working on Star Wars. I just happened to meet someone who needed someone to do what they hired me to do. But it's being prepared to do it. It's always, you've got to deliver once that door gets open. It's not, if your father owns the corporation, that's great. And maybe you can just sit in the office, but otherwise it's always, you've got to be prepared to deliver what's needed and more than what's needed in order to continue and succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott?
I love the fact that we can take fiction and we can take real life and we can find that intersection.
Yeah, I think there are studies out there that show if you're an avid consumer of fiction, if you're reading novels, you have a greater capacity for compassion and empathy. Because fiction forces you to imagine the emotion, imagine how the characters are feeling. Again, it just goes back to what Craig was saying. It's all about the characters and the people. So I find that connection really interesting. I think a lot of people enjoy reading business books. Thank goodness I've published one, so I'm hoping they're enjoying reading it. But at the same time, like, don't get rid of Tolstoy. And I just finished reading War and Peace, and it's like everything in the world is in that book. It's incredible. So I think there is that intersection between fiction and real life. I'm kind of curious, Craig, what resonated with people, do you think, about that first Star Wars movie? Why were we lined up around the block? Sorry, I want to ask the question.
That's what you're here for.
Well, there's the story behind Star Wars, in one sense, is George Lucas and Gary Kurtz were working on American Graffiti. Gary produced it, George directed it, wrote it, or co-wrote it. And during the editing phase, there was one night they were like, okay, we want to get out of the editing room and let's go to a movie and just relax. And they looked through the newspaper the way we used to find what was playing in town, and they couldn't find any movies they wanted to see. They wanted to see an adventure movie. They wanted to see something fun. The mid 1970s, actually, with American Graffiti, was the early 1970s. We were still in the Easy Rider, they all got run over by a truck ending movies, profound slices of life, and those kinds of movies. And they wanted something light. They wanted something adventurous, and they couldn't find one playing. So they said, let's make one. If we want to see it, other people will want to see it. Now, originally they wanted to make a remake or a new version of Flash Gordon, but they couldn't get the rights to Flash Gordon. So they decided, let's do one of our own. George had been working on Star Wars for many years in various iterations. And it grew out of that. It was, let's go find something that's a fun adventure, with interesting characters and exciting and a happy ending. And they figured if they liked it, other people would like it. They just had no idea how many other people would end up liking it.
That's such a good story.
It really is, and something I'm dying to know. So my turn to ask a question, and that is Harrison Ford a nice guy?
Yeah. Harrison and I do not pal around. I haven't seen him in a long time, but I knew him moderately well during the Star Wars years. And yeah, he was a nice guy. I mean, he is that guy you see when he's occasionally on a talk show. He is not a chatty guy, really. He does not suffer fools well. He doesn't want you to waste his time. But yeah, he's a nice guy. We've gone out to lunch. We've done things. Yeah, he's perfectly nice guy, but he is taciturn. He is reserved. So that kind of is his character.
Right.
And I love his comment about Flash Gordon and that they didn't get the rights to it because, of course, right after Star Wars came out, then there was the Flash Gordon that came out with Max von Sydow as being the merciless ruler of the universe. He did great in that role. That movie wasn't quite the box office hit
No, it did have a cult following, but it was done very differently with a very different attitude. A lot of movies came out, science fiction. People don't remember anymore, or aren't old enough to remember that in the 1970s, science fiction was not like today. Today, every other movie is science fiction or superheroes. The 1970s, science fiction was looked at as something for kids, that real people didn't go to science fiction movies. People didn't go to escapist movies. 20th Century Fox, before they greenlit Star Wars, they did market research. Fortunately, they ignored their market research. Their market research said two things. Science fiction was, they would go out and they'd find people and they would show them a list of types of movies: mystery, crime, war, romance, comedy, science fiction, horror. And they'd say, which of these kinds of movies do you like best? Which do you are not interested in? And they stopped people walking around Hollywood Boulevard in the middle of the afternoon during the week. And science fiction was down at the bottom. Their research also told them that no one understood the title Star Wars. They thought it was like a war movie, because we were, it was the mid-1970s. We were still in Vietnam. People hear Star Wars, they didn't know exactly what it meant, but they thought it was a Vietnam movie. And so the market research was, don't make this movie, but if you do make the movie, don't use that title. And the answer is that market research is great, but you got to ask the right people the right question,
right,
to get good data. It was a perfectly valid set of questions, but they weren't asking typical moviegoers. That's who you have to, you have to ask the question, who is going to buy my product, and then ask them those questions, not random people who probably aren't interested in buying your industrial widgets.
And I think this is so important, because businesses can, like, if you own a business out there, listen to what Craig is saying, because you talked to Craig about, the makers of the movie originally just sitting there and thinking, we don't want to watch any of this. Well, we're going to make what we want to see. Mm-hmm. And then the market research would have told them, don't make it. Right. And similar with businesses, I hear from clients all the time that, storytelling, I know it makes sense, but my audience is different. My audience expects me to speak in a certain way, especially when CEOs and C-suite folks are going to investor conferences. But these are investors. They don't want to hear a story. And time and again, I have clients who ignore what the market research might tell them, and they just take a chance. I'll never forget sending he owns an engineering firm in Calgary. They had an opportunity to present down in South America, a brand new market for them. And he said, we need to do something different. We need to stand out. He's an engineer as well. And I said, okay, are you going to trust us and just kind of go with the storytelling here? And he said, yeah, sure. So we built a fantastic presentation, visually very different from what an engineer would normally present, told the story. And Neil says that he was sitting in the audience waiting to present, and engineer after engineer was getting up and doing the typical data-heavy information overload presentation, and he started to feel sick to his stomach. He thought, oh my God, what have I done? What has Perfect Pitch sent me here with? And felt really kind of ill going up to the stage, like he was going to commit career suicide. But he committed to it. And for the next 3 days at the conference, everybody was talking about his presentation, and he had more people to his trade booth than anybody else. So yeah, I mean, it's like, right? Like, good for you, good for him for ignoring the market research and going with your gut.
Yeah. Hey, Russ, could you put the picture with Craig's book on there? There's a picture of a young Craig.
Very young.
And there's his book. it was, and I know, Russ, we're going to wind down here, but it was Henry Ford had said, right? People wanted faster horses, but he gave them the automobile.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Craig, thanks for sharing that story.
My pleasure.
Well, it is my joy in this show that Scott and I get the pleasure of doing, to hear stories about people. And both of you, I always joke with people that I'm a lifetime connector. You're stuck with me as your friend. I look forward to connecting more with you and learning more about what both of you are doing, because I do think you both are doing and have done amazing things. Craig, you and I had a really good conversation. I think it was yesterday. We were only able to chat on the phone, but it was, it just grabs my interest because of the story and all that you've been involved with. And Colleen, all that you're doing, just, being able to support and bless you guys is just an honor for Scott and I. And we just appreciate you both coming on today. But I want to give you both a last chance to let everybody know what you want them to remember most from today, and then tell everybody how to get in touch with you. And we're going to start with ladies first. Colleen, you're up.
Just remember, talk about the challenge, talk about the conflict when you are telling your story about your idea, your product, your customers, your business. Please don't leave that part out. That's what connects us and makes us care, frankly. And to get in touch with me, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can go to perfectpitchpros.com. You can order my book on Amazon, Story Compass. I would love to talk to you and figure out what story you have to tell about your business.
Awesome. And Craig, you're up next. Go for it.
Okay. Well, just to reinforce what you were saying, Colleen, we, back in the caves, we were sitting around fires telling each other stories. That we've got, as a species, a long history. It's all about stories. It's all about going to other places. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, and you can find my book about making Star Wars at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart.com, not necessarily in the Walmart stores. My children's shows I've worked on have been on, from Curious George to I've done shows for China and the Middle East. So my stuff is everywhere.
Well, and it is a lot. We can't fit into a half-hour show today. We're probably going to have you both on and do a part 2 just to talk more about it. Maybe this will be an annual thing, right? May the 4th be with you. But no, I appreciate you both. I was thinking, I just want to wrap up with this and say, I was thinking about what you said about, not overlooking the conflict and the challenges, because it's the overcoming of that really drives the story. And I was just watching a movie, or actually it was a show with my wife the other night, thinking that exact thing. I was thinking about the whole storytelling, story brand thing. And I was thinking, this person is irritating me. There's such a thorn in the side of this hero in the show, but this is what is gripping me and keeping me watching the show, because I'm waiting for the person to go and smash the bad person. And so, it makes it so gripping and exciting. So on that note, I just want to say, all of you that are having challenges or things in life or your business, you can overcome, you can move forward. Your life is a story, and you get to tell that story with the actions you take every day. So it's just, be encouraged with that. And I just want to thank you both for being here today. Scott, do you have any last words before we send them out to the green room?
Grateful to Colleen for being here today. Just master storytelling, so important. Craig, it's just fun to hang out with you. You have such a great perspective on life and so much experience. Star Wars may have been the start, but there's a lot there, and I encourage people to connect with both Colleen and Craig.
Absolutely. I want to double that. Make sure you're connecting with them. Make sure you're buying their books. all of the information is clickable in the comments. It's magically appeared during the show in the comments as well as in the show notes. So just one click away to buy their books, to get their information, to connect with them. And we really want to encourage you to do that today. And I'm going to thank you both again. We're going to send you to the green room. Hang tight for just a second as we wrap things up. Thanks again.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you, Scott. Bye, Craig.
Wow. Man, these shows just get better
May the
every
4th.
time. They do. It's amazing the people we get to have on.
Exactly. I tell you. And we get to have more fun at 10:30 today, as we will rule the universe as as Russ and Scott. Right.
Oh, you're so funny.
Yeah,
Well,
we're
you
going to
know,
have fun in the Experience Mastermind. And, it just happens that part of the subject that we're going to be talking about is storytelling and the power of story. And so today people get a little primer from Colleen and Craig in how important it is, whether you're telling fiction or nonfiction. People connect through story.
That's right. And they do. And just remember, may the 4th be with you. Scott and I have so much fun, and every time we can't end with Kermit's got to be part of all this too, because we love Kermit. So listen, we want you to enjoy life. We thank you for being here today. Just remember, until we see you again, have a great day and a great life, and
enjoy the experience.
Thanks for tuning in to The Experience Live with Russ and Scott. If you enjoyed today's show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or subscribe on YouTube. See you next time.